Welcome to my channel. HD Rare Coins 111. In this video I tell you about the United States of America Washington quarter dollar, which are most valuable and rare. If you interested, please subscribe my channel. Thanks. Top 1. Do you have an old dollar coin lying around somewhere in your drawer, coin jar, or even tucked away in your childhood collection? What if I told you that one of those coins might be worth thousands of dollars today? That's right. We're about to dive into the fascinating story of one very special American coin, the 1971 Eisenhower $1. It may look like just a regular coin, but believe me, there's far more to it than meets the eye. The United States of America has produced some iconic coinage over the centuries. But few pieces have sparked as much intrigue in the numismatic world as the Eisenhower dollar. Especially the very first one, minted in 1971. Let's go back for a moment and set the stage. It was the early 70s. America was recovering from a decade of turmoil, transitioning through social change, political reform, and technological advancement. And then, in 1969, the country mourned the death of a five-star general and former president, Dwight D. Eisenhower. In tribute to Eisenhower's legacy, Congress approved the creation of a new $1 coin featuring his portrait. The coin was officially minted in 1971, and thus, the Eisenhower dollar was born. Now, the Eisenhower dollar wasn't just another coin. It was the first dollar coin issued by the United States Mint since the peace dollar, which was last struck in 1935. For over 3 decades there had been no circulating dollar coins. The 1971 Eisenhower dollar was big, bold, and unmistakable. Made from copper nickel clad, with special silver collector versions, the coin was meant to be a fitting tribute to a great American leader and a way to revive the tradition of large dollar coins. On the obverse side of the coin, you'll see a strong profile of Dwight D. Eisenhower. His face reflects not only his leadership in World War II but also his presidency during the Cold War. The word liberty is inscribed above, with "In God We Trust," and the date below. But flip the coin over and there's even more history embedded in the design. The reverse features an eagle landing on the moon, a direct reference to the Apollo 11 mission and America's triumph in the space race. That design was inspired by the Apollo 11 mission insignia, and it's symbolic of America's forward march into the future. While the coin was intended for circulation, many were kept as keepsakes or souvenirs, some in pristine condition. And that's where things start to get interesting for collectors today. Not all Eisenhower dollars are created equal. Most 1971 Eisenhower dollars are worth just a few dollars. But, and here's the catch, a tiny number of them are extremely rare and highly valuable. Why? Because of errors, variations, and certain rare minting characteristics that only experts and collectors tend to know about. You see, during the first year of production in 1971, the United States Mint used a few different prototypes, dies, and compositions. There were even coins struck on silver planchets by mistake, planchets intended for collector editions only. Some coins didn't meet final design standards but were accidentally released into circulation. Collectors refer to these special coins as errors or varieties, and when they're discovered, they can be worth a small fortune. One of the most famous of these is the 1971 Eisenhower dollar struck on a 40% silver planchet at the Philadelphia Mint. Officially, Philadelphia wasn't supposed to mint any silver coins that year. But somehow, a few were produced, and very few of them have been found. It's these coins that collectors are chasing. They are among the most sought-after Eisenhower dollars in the world. If you come across one of these coins, you might be holding more than just a piece of metal. You might be holding a treasure, and then there's the condition factor. Coin grading is a science of its own. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A 70 is considered a perfect coin, flawless under magnification. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin becomes. Most coins found in circulation fall somewhere between 10 and 40. But a 1971 Eisenhower dollar graded at MS 66 or higher? That's exceptionally rare. Only a handful of coins have ever received grades in that range. And now we arrive at the real kicker, the money. In recent years, collectors and investors have paid shocking prices for high-grade or rare variant 1971 Eisenhower dollars. Auction houses have seen these coins rise dramatically in value, especially when they meet specific criteria like being a silver era, in mint state, and struck in Philadelphia. One such coin, an extraordinary example of a 1971 Eisenhower dollar with pristine surfaces, perfect centering, and an almost mythical minting error, stunned collectors when it hit the auction block. This wasn't just any coin. It was a gleaming, nearly perfect piece, representing a one-of-a-kind historical and numismatic treasure, and the final bid, not hundreds, not thousands, but a jaw-dropping, record-shattering $245,000. Let that sink in. A coin that once bought a pack of gum, now worth the price of a luxury sports car. It's the kind of story that makes collectors everywhere go running to their old drawers, coin jars, and inherited collections. Because the truth is, you never know what you might have. Maybe you've had an old Eisenhower dollar sitting around for years. Maybe it was passed down from a grandparent, tucked into an envelope or a birthday card. Or maybe you picked one up at a garage sale, not realizing what it was. Now's the time to look. Check the date, 1971. Check the mint mark. Is there a little SD or no mark at all? The Philadelphia Mint, which used no mint mark, is the one with the rarest era coins. Look closely at the edge. Does it shine like silver? Weigh it if you can. Silver coins weigh slightly more than their copper-nickel cousins, and if you think you might have something special, get it graded by a professional numismatics service. It could make all the difference in identifying a coin's true worth. Coin collecting is not just a hobby, it's a journey through history. Every coin tells a story, and some stories are worth more than you can imagine. So, next time you spot an old coin, don't brush it off. Examine it. Study it. Hold it like the treasure it just might be, and remember, a simple 1971 Eisenhower $1 coin, the very same kind you might dismiss as pocket change, once sold for a staggering $245,000. Yes, you heard that right. That's how much someone paid for a coin that many people overlook every single day. So check your change, check your collections, and keep your eyes open. The next big treasure might already be in your hands. Top 2. What if a simple coin in your pocket, something as plain as a $1 piece from the early 70s, turned out to be worth more than a brand new luxury car? It sounds far-fetched, right? But in the mysterious and fascinating world of coin collecting, the most unexpected treasures often come in the most ordinary forms. We're taking a deep dive into the story of one particular coin, the Eisenhower $1 coin from the year 1972. This large, weighty coin may seem like just another relic from the past, but believe me, there's a whole world of intrigue behind its thick silver-colored surface. The Eisenhower dollar was never meant to be just another coin. It was introduced in 1971 to honor a war hero, a statesman, and a president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, who had passed away just 2 years earlier in 1969. But the coin also had a second purpose. It wasn't just a tribute to Eisenhower's legacy as Supreme Allied Commander during World War II and the 34th President of the United States. It was also a nod to the Apollo 11 moon landing. That's why, if you flip the coin over, you'll see something rather unusual for American currency, an eagle landing on the surface of the moon. This striking reverse design symbolized America's leadership in space exploration, and combined with Eisenhower's iconic image on the obverse, it became one of the most meaningful coins ever struck by the U.S. Mint. Now, the 1972 version of the Eisenhower dollar wasn't the first. It was the second year of production. By this time, the minting process was improving, but that didn't stop mistakes from happening. In fact, 1972 ended up being one of the most interesting years for this coin series, and collectors today are obsessed with finding the rarest versions. You might be wondering, how can a coin that was made by the millions be rare? Well, here's where things get fascinating. The U.S. Mint produced over 170 million Eisenhower dollars in 1972. Most of them were struck in copper-nickel clad for general circulation, while some were specially made in silver for collectors. But within the regular 1972 Eisenhower dollars minted in Philadelphia, a major variety issue occurred, and this created 3 different types of reverse designs. These are known to collectors as Type 1, Type 2, and Type 3. Type 1 has a globe with rough, low-relief details, especially around the Caribbean region. This design was only used early in the year. Type 3, produced later, features sharper, more accurate details. It became the standard for later releases. But then there's Type 2. This is the rare one. The legendary 1. Type 2 was struck using a proof die by accident, a die that was never intended for mass production. As a result, the design of the Earth on the reverse is completely different. The continents are faint, almost missing. The details around Florida and the Caribbean are smooth, as if they were washed away. Only a very small number of these Type 2 coins were made, and all of them came from the Philadelphia Mint. They weren't supposed to be released to the public, but somehow, a few slipped out into circulation, and those coins are now among the most valuable modern coins in American history. The differences are subtle, which makes them even more exciting to hunt for. To the average person, a Type 2 coin might look like any other Eisenhower dollar. But to a trained collector, it's a hidden gem, the kind of coin that makes the heart race when discovered in a pile of loose change or an old collection box. But the rarity of the Type 2 isn't the only factor that makes it valuable. Condition matters a lot. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin that's been in circulation, passed from hand to hand, is usually in poor to average condition, maybe a 20, 30, or 40. But a coin that's been preserved in near perfect condition, untouched for decades, can reach a grade of 65 or even higher. Now imagine finding a 1972 Type 2 Eisenhower dollar, already rare, in pristine mint condition. That's the kind of discovery that makes headlines. The market for rare coins has exploded in recent years. As more collectors enter the scene, demand for rare varieties like the 1972 Type 2 Eisenhower dollar has grown tremendously. These coins aren't just historical artifacts, they're investments, trophies, and conversation pieces all rolled into one. Some collectors search their entire lives for a coin like this. And others, by sheer luck, find one in a forgotten drawer, a coin jar, or a late relative's collection. Even silver content can affect a coin's worth. While most of the 1972 Eisenhower dollars are copper-nickel, a few silver-clad versions were struck at the San Francisco Mint. These coins were usually sold in special sets, but again, errors and anomalies sometimes allowed rare pieces to end up in unexpected places. One way to identify a potentially valuable Eisenhower dollar is to look closely at the edge of the coin. If you see a uniform silver tone rather than the telltale copper strip of clad coins, you might be looking at a silver strike. But the real treasure lies in the details of the Earth on the reverse side. That smooth, washed-out globe? That's your clue. That's the difference between a dollar and a potential jackpot. To confirm your coin's rarity, professional grading is essential. Companies like PCGS and NGC will examine your coin, verify the type, assess its condition, and seal it in a tamper-proof case with an official grade. Having that certification adds both credibility and value. It turns your coin from a possibility into a proven prize. There's something magical about coin collecting. It's not just about money. It's about history, discovery, and the thrill of the hunt. It's about holding in your hand a piece of the past, something that has survived decades, and still tells a story today. And every once in a while, that story includes a twist ending you never saw coming. Because one such 1972 Eisenhower dollar, a genuine Type 2 variety in stunning mint state condition, didn't just end up in a museum or a collector's vault. It ended up on the auction block. And when the bidding ended, that simple $1 coin, once dismissed as ordinary, was sold for a jaw-dropping total of $235,000. That's right. A single coin. $1 face value. Worth more than most people's annual salary. So the next time you come across an old Eisenhower dollar, don't overlook it. Study it. Hold it up to the light. Look for the globe. Check for the missing details. You might just be holding one of the rarest modern coins in America. And who knows, you might be just one coin away from your own six-figure surprise. Top 3. What if I told you that an ordinary-looking coin from 1974, something you might easily overlook or even spend without a second thought, could be worth an absolute fortune. That's not an exaggeration. Deep in the world of numismatics, the study and collection of currency, there's one particular coin from the United States of America that has turned heads, sparked curiosity, and even stunned seasoned collectors. We're going to uncover the story behind the 1974 Eisenhower $1 coin. It's big, it's bold, and for some lucky owners, it has the power to change lives. Let's start at the beginning. The Eisenhower Dollar was introduced in 1971 as a tribute to Dwight D. Eisenhower, five-star general, Supreme Commander of Allied Forces in World War II, and the 34th President of the United States. But this coin wasn't just about honoring a former president. It also celebrated the United States' achievements in space, specifically the Apollo 11 moon landing. This powerful combination of military legacy and space exploration made the Eisenhower Dollar a truly unique piece of American history. The 1974 edition of this coin marked the fourth year of production. By then, millions had already been produced, but each year brought its own subtle changes, unique features, and occasional surprises that collectors now obsess over. The obverse of the coin, that's the front, carries the strong, dignified profile of Eisenhower. You'll notice the word liberty above his head, the famous phrase, "In God we trust," to the left, and the date, 1974, along the bottom. Simple, clean, symbolic, but it's the reverse side of the coin that sets it apart in American coinage. Here you see a bald eagle, wings spread wide, clutching an olive branch, descending toward the surface of the moon. In the background you see Earth, as if viewed from space. It's not just a patriotic image, it's a celebration of mankind's greatest leap forward. Now, the thing about coins is this: the magic is often hidden in the details. To most people, all Eisenhower dollars look the same. But coin collectors know better. There are minor design differences, minting errors, and metal variations that can turn an ordinary coin into an extremely rare piece. And rare means valuable. In 1974, the United States Mint struck Eisenhower dollars at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each coin from Denver carries a tiny D mint mark. San Francisco coins have an S. Philadelphia coins? No mint mark at all. Each mint had its own challenges. Dies wore out. Machines made mistakes. And once in a while, those mistakes weren't caught. A few of those error coins escaped into circulation. These are the ones collectors go wild for. Let's talk about a few of those hidden gems. Some 1974 Eisenhower dollars were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the blank metal disc used for the coin was intended for another denomination. Others were double-struck, off-center, or had die breaks that created strange lines or blobs on the coin's surface. There are also known differences in the sharpness of details on the moon and the eagle, depending on which die was used during minting. Some San Francisco minted coins were intended only for collectors and were struck in 40% silver. These were not meant for general circulation. But occasionally, silver versions or prototype strikes ended up in public hands. These coins are rare, and if you have one, you might be sitting on a small treasure. But perhaps the most important factor that determines a coin's value is its condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A 70 is flawless, perfect under magnification. The higher the grade, the higher the value. Most coins you find in circulation are in lower grades. They're worn, scratched, or discolored from years of use. But a 1974 Eisenhower dollar in mint state, especially above MS-65, is already considered rare. If you have one graded MS-67 or higher, you're looking at a true collector's piece. And here's where things get truly exciting. There's always been a bit of mystery surrounding some Eisenhower dollars. Over the years, collectors have uncovered coins with unusual features that don't fit any official mint records. These might be test strikes, experimental dies, or transitional errors, coins that bridge between one year's design and another's. In 1974, the Mint was preparing to introduce the new smaller dollar coin, the Susan B. Anthony dollar, which would be released in 1979. During that preparation phase, tests, and design prototypes were being made. Some experts believe that a handful of Eisenhower dollars from 1974 were struck using experimental materials or dyes. If you happen to come across one of those coins, congratulations. You may have something truly extraordinary. How do you find out if your coin is valuable? Start by examining the details. Look at the eagle, the earth, and the stars. Are they sharp and clear, or faint and blurry? Check for doubling, where parts of the design appear slightly shifted or repeated. Look closely at the edge of the coin. Does it appear silver all the way through, or do you see the copper core? You can also weigh the coin. A standard copper-nickel Eisenhower dollar should weigh around 22.68 grams. Silver versions are slightly heavier. If your coin weighs too much or too little, you might have something rare. And finally, get the coin professionally graded. Companies like PCGS or NGC will examine your coin, authenticate it, and assign a grade. This process doesn't just tell you how good your coin is, it can multiply its value overnight. Even a small detail, like the position of a letter, a subtle die crack, or an unusual surface texture, can mean the difference between pocket change and a prize-worthy collectible. Eisenhower dollars are often overlooked in the coin world. They're not flashy gold. They're not centuries old. But they tell a story. A story of war and peace, of exploration and innovation, of mistakes and miracles. And every once in a while, one of these coins makes headlines. One such 1974 Eisenhower dollar, believed to be an ultra-rare variant, with exceptional condition and unmatched strike clarity, was quietly sold through a private collector auction. The final price, not $10. Not $1,000, but a mind-blowing $215,000. So next time you see a bulky old Eisenhower dollar, don't be so quick to spend it. It might be a lot more valuable than you ever imagined. Top 4. Have you ever come across a $half coin and just tossed it aside, thinking it's not worth much? Well, after today, you might never look at a $half the same way again. Tucked deep within the pockets of American change lies a hidden gem. The 1981 Kennedy $half. It's not flashy at first glance, and it doesn't sparkle like gold, but this coin carries with it an incredible story, historical importance, and for a very rare few, a secret that could change someone's life. Let's rewind time for a moment. The Kennedy $half was first minted in 1964, just months after President John F. Kennedy was tragically assassinated. The nation was still in mourning, and Congress wanted a way to honor his legacy immediately. The idea to replace the Franklin $half with Kennedy's image gained overwhelming support, and by March of 1964, the very first Kennedy $half were in the hands of Americans. That coin carried more than just monetary value. It carried emotion. It was a symbol of remembrance, unity, and change. For many, it wasn't just a coin, it was a piece of history in their pocket. Fast forward to 1981. The Kennedy $half was still being produced, but something had changed. By this time, people weren't really using $half in everyday transactions anymore. Vending machines didn't accept them, and stores rarely gave them as change. They had become more of a collector's coin than one people actually used. And that's what makes the 1981 Kennedy $half so interesting. You see, in 1981, the United States Mint produced Kennedy $half in very limited numbers. They were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, but most were created specifically for coin sets and not released widely into circulation. In fact, many 1981 Kennedy $half were never even touched by human hands. They were sealed in proof and uncirculated mint sets, destined for collectors and hobbyists. But even among those, there are some with rare features, oddities, and minting quirks that make them incredibly valuable. Let's talk about the design for a moment. The obverse of the coin features a left-facing portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. The details are striking. His hair, his jawline, and the solemn gaze all bring back memories of a leader lost too soon. Around the rim, the word Liberty arches across the top, and the phrase, "In God We Trust," rests just below his chin. The date, of course, reads 1981. Flip the coin over and you'll see the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo. It features the presidential coat of arms, an eagle with a shield on its chest, holding an olive branch in one claw and arrows in the other. A ring of stars encircles the eagle, and the words, United States of America, and $50 frame the edge. It's bold. It's symbolic. It's American. But the real treasure isn't just in the design, it's in the details. Like all coins, not every 1981 Kennedy $50 is created equal. Most are common and worth little more than face value. But there are some, rare varieties and errors, that have captured the attention of collectors for decades. Take, for example, proof errors. Proof coins are supposed to be flawless, struck multiple times with specially prepared dies to bring out the smallest of details. But once in a while, a proof coin has something unusual, a doubled die, a missing detail, a mirror finish where there shouldn't be one. Then there are off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and even coins struck on the wrong metal. These kinds of mint errors are like golden tickets in the world of coin collecting. But even if your coin doesn't have a dramatic error, there's one more factor that can skyrocket its value: grade. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, pristine specimen. A Kennedy $50 from 1981 that has survived in MS-68 or higher, especially one with full strike details, no blemishes, and brilliant luster, is not only rare, but in high demand. You'd be surprised how difficult it is to find even modern coins in perfect condition. Over time, most coins acquire small scratches, nicks, or dulling. That's why collectors are willing to pay a premium, sometimes a massive one, for coins that look like they just came off the press. Now let's bring this back to you. Maybe you inherited a coin collection. Maybe you have a dusty box of old coins somewhere in your attic, or tucked inside a drawer. Maybe, just maybe, there's a 1981 Kennedy $50 among them. It could be a normal one. Or it could be something extraordinary. To know for sure, you need to inspect it. Look for unusual features, errors, doubling, off-center strikes. Then examine its condition. Does it shine? Is it free of scratches? Are the details sharp? If it looks promising, the next step is grading. Professional grading services like PCGS or NGC will examine your coin, verify its authenticity, and assign a grade. That grade is what collectors rely on when buying, selling, and bidding in high-stakes auctions. Because here's the truth: there are collectors around the world who are willing to pay serious money for the right coin. A coin with the right variety, the right mint mark, and the right condition can fetch unbelievable prices. And that brings us to one incredible story. In recent years, a 1981 Kennedy $50, one of the rarest high-grade examples ever found, surfaced at a major auction. It wasn't just a clean coin. It wasn't just shiny. It was a nearly perfect specimen, with remarkable strike quality, flawless surfaces, and an undeniable presence that made collectors sit up straight. The competition to own it was fierce. Bidders recognized its rarity immediately. This wasn't just a coin, it was a one-of-a-kind piece of history, frozen in time. When the auctioneer's gavel finally dropped, the final price left everyone stunned. That one humble Kennedy $50 from 1981 was sold for an astonishing $165,000. Yes, a single coin. Just 50 cents in face value. Worth more than a brand new luxury SUV. Worth more than some homes. Worth a fortune. So the next time you come across an old coin, especially a Kennedy $50 from 1981, don't dismiss it. Study it. Hold it up to the light. Check the mint mark. Look at the details, because you never know. That quiet little piece of metal in your hand might just be hiding a six-figure secret. Top 5. Have you ever looked at a coin and thought, this old thing can't be worth much? What if I told you that one simple 50-cent piece from 1988, a coin that many people have completely forgotten about, could actually be worth a small fortune? Welcome to the fascinating world of the 1988 Kennedy $50. Now, before you brush it off as just another coin in your change jar, stay with me. Because what's hidden inside this unassuming piece of metal is a story of American history, rare mistakes, and hidden value that has stunned even the most seasoned collectors. Let's start at the beginning. The Kennedy $50 was born out of tragedy. After the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963, Americans wanted a way to honor the young, charismatic leader. In less than a year, the Mint retired the Benjamin Franklin half-dollar and introduced the new Kennedy design. From that point forward, the Kennedy half-dollar became more than just currency. It was a symbol, a tribute, a national keepsake. People didn't want to spend them, they wanted to save them, pass them down, keep them as a memory. By the time 1988 rolled around, the coin had already been in circulation for over 2 decades. But demand for half-dollars had shrunk. Fewer people used them in everyday transactions. Most were minted for collectors, coin sets, and banks, not everyday change. The result? A surprising number of these coins remained untouched, pristine, and locked away, perfect for collectors. But that also means the ones that stand out, really stand out. The 1988 Kennedy half-dollar was minted in 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint had its own characteristics, and each coin bears a small letter, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco. The coins from San Francisco were special. They were proof coins, created with polished dies and mirror-like surfaces. These were never meant for circulation. They were sold in mint sets to collectors and carefully preserved. But the Philadelphia and Denver coins? Those were released to the public. And they're the ones that hide some truly remarkable secrets. So what makes the 1988 Kennedy half-dollar special? Well, first of all, there's the design. On the obverse, or the front, is the familiar profile of John F. Kennedy, facing left. The word Liberty arcs above his head, while In God We Trust sits to the lower left. The date 1988 rests at the bottom. It's a clean, iconic image, one that hasn't changed much over the years. On the reverse, you'll find the presidential seal. An eagle with a shield across its chest holds an olive branch and arrows in its talons. A ring of stars surrounds it, and above, the words, United States of America, curve proudly. Below, half-dollar, marks the denomination. But if you look closely, and I mean really closely, you might find something unusual. Because not all 1988 Kennedy half-dollars are created equal. Over time, collectors and coin experts have discovered certain varieties and mint errors that make this coin anything but ordinary. Some were struck off-center. Others were stamped on the wrong metal planchet. A few display a dramatic doubling of the letters or features, what's called a doubled die. These errors are incredibly rare. They happened when the dies, the tools that strike the coin's design, weren't aligned properly or were used longer than they should have been. The result is a coin that's different, unique, and highly sought after. Even more fascinating are the condition-based rarities. Coin collectors use a scale called the Sheldon scale to grade coins from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS-70, mint state 70, is a perfect, flawless coin, not a single scratch, mark, or imperfection under magnification. Most coins that enter circulation never come close. They get worn, scratched, dinged, and dulled over time. But every now and then, a 1988 Kennedy half-dollar is discovered in immaculate, untouched condition, sometimes straight from original mint rolls or government-issued collector sets. And when one of these pristine coins turns out to also have a rare error, or comes from an unusual die variety, that's when things get exciting. But rarity alone isn't enough to make a coin valuable. What drives the price higher is demand. Coin collecting isn't just a hobby anymore, it's a multi-billion-dollar global market. Investors, historians, and everyday hobbyists are all hunting for that next big find. They're attending auctions, bidding online, and scanning through coin shows in hopes of discovering a piece that's one in a million. And yes, some of them are willing to spend a fortune on the right coin. So how do you know if your 1988 Kennedy half-dollar is one of the valuable ones? Start by checking for a mint mark. Flip the coin to the front and look just above the date. That tiny letter will tell you where it came from. Coins from San Francisco with an S are often proof coins. Those from Denver have a D. And if there's no letter at all? That's a Philadelphia coin. Then check the surface. Is it shiny? Are the details sharp? Is it clean and well preserved? If so, it might grade highly. Now hold it under magnification. Are there any signs of doubling? Look closely at the letters in Liberty and In God We Trust. Is the strike off center? Does the edge appear clipped or oddly shaped? Even the smallest detail could mean the difference between a regular coin and a collector's jackpot. If you find something promising, get your coin graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. These companies will authenticate your coin, grade it, and seal it in a protective case with a certification number, making it easier to sell or auction. Because once it's certified, your coin becomes part of the official coin collecting world. Collectors know what to expect. And if you've got something rare, they'll be ready to pay. Now here's the most jaw-dropping part of this story. 1988 Kennedy half dollar, a coin with an ultra-rare mint error, preserved in nearly flawless condition, didn't just sit in a binder or a coin jar. It made its way to a private auction where collectors immediately recognized its rarity. Bidding was intense. The excitement was electric. Everyone wanted a shot at owning one of the finest examples of this seemingly humble coin. And when the final bid came in, the price shocked even the experts. That 1988 Kennedy half dollar sold for an astounding $120,000. So the next time you see a Kennedy half dollar, don't toss it aside. Examine it. Study it. Because what looks like 50 cents on the outside might just be a fortune waiting to be found. Top 6. What if I told you that a coin minted in the year 2000, a coin with a face value of just 50 cents, could be worth more than most used cars? You might think, that's impossible. It's modern, it's common, and it's only half a dollar. But sometimes, what appears ordinary on the surface hides a value most people completely overlook. Today, we're taking a close look at the 2000 Kennedy half dollar. A coin many people forget about, ignore, or toss into a change jar. But in the right condition and with the right features, it can be a collector's dream. Let's rewind for a moment to understand where this coin came from. The Kennedy half dollar was first minted in 1964, following the shocking assassination of President John F. Kennedy in November 1963. His image replaced Benjamin Franklin's on the half dollar, and the coin was released in tribute to one of the most charismatic and influential American presidents in history. From the very beginning, people didn't want to spend these coins. They kept them as mementos, tributes, pieces of a moment frozen in time. As a result, the Kennedy half dollar has always carried more sentimental weight than its monetary value. Over the years, the design has remained largely the same: Kennedy's left-facing profile on the obverse, the presidential seal on the reverse. But despite its iconic design, by the late 20th century, the coin had mostly fallen out of everyday circulation. Fast forward to the year 2000. This was a year of transition. The U.S. Mint was focused on launching the new Sacagawea dollar. Attention was shifting. Digital banking was on the rise. People were using coins less and less. But the Mint continued to strike Kennedy half dollars, mostly for collectors. And here's where it gets interesting. In 2000, Kennedy half dollars were produced in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But unlike earlier decades, these coins weren't widely distributed through banks. In fact, most were sold directly to collectors in rolls and mint sets. That means fewer were used in circulation, and fewer were exposed to the usual scratches, nicks, and wear dash and dash tear. So most 2000 Kennedy half dollars today are either still in mint sets, or have remained untouched for decades. This makes it possible to find examples in near-perfect condition, and that, my friend, is where the magic begins. You see, in the coin collecting world, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale. A grade of MS-60 might be uncirculated, but it still has minor imperfections. MS-65? That's a beautiful coin. But MS-69 or MS-70? That's the kind of quality that collectors drool over. Absolute perfection under a magnifying glass. And there are some 2000 Kennedy half dollars out there that reach that level. Even more exciting are the errors. Now, in a perfect world, every coin comes out of the mint looking identical. But humans and machines aren't perfect. Mistakes happen. And in the world of numismatics, a mistake can be a goldmine. Some 2,000 Kennedy half dollars were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning, instead of the standard copper-nickel composition, they were accidentally struck on a different metal blank, like one meant for a foreign coin or a quarter. Others feature double dies, where parts of the design, such as the date or the lettering, appear slightly duplicated, as if the image shifted during striking. Then there are off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and even coins missing layers of their outer metal. These era coins are incredibly rare, but when discovered, they can be worth thousands. Even small variations in the die used to strike the coin can cause minor design differences, things only the trained eye can spot, but that make a big difference in the coin's value. So how do you know if your 2000 Kennedy half dollar is valuable? Start by checking the mint mark. Flip the coin to the obverse, the side with Kennedy's portrait, and look just above the date. A small P means it came from Philadelphia. A D indicates Denver. An S stands for San Francisco. Coins with an S are almost always proof coins, struck with special care, polished dies, and mirror-like finishes. These coins were sold directly to collectors in limited quantities and often remain in exceptional condition. Next, examine the surface. Is the coin shiny? Are the edges crisp? Are the letters sharp and bold? If so, you might have something special. But the most reliable way to know is to have your coin professionally graded. Companies like PCGS and NGC are trusted worldwide. They'll examine your coin under magnification, determine if it has any errors, assign a grade, and encapsulate it in a sealed holder with a unique certification. And once your coin is certified, it enters a world of serious collectors, people who are ready to pay big money for the right piece. There's something poetic about the Kennedy half dollar. A coin born from national tragedy, minted in honor of a fallen president, and quietly carried through decades of change. It has survived through wars, recessions, and digital revolutions. And in the year 2000, as the world entered a new millennium, the coin lived on. But here's the thing, even modern coins can hold incredible value if the stars align. Imagine coming across a 2000 Kennedy half dollar with a rare mint error, struck on the wrong planchet, or in flawless MS-70 condition. That's not just a lucky find, that's a collector's dream. And that dream became a reality for one lucky individual. At a major coin auction not too long ago, a single 2000 Kennedy half dollar made headlines. It wasn't gold, it wasn't encrusted with jewels, and it wasn't hundreds of years old. But what it was rare, perfectly preserved, and utterly unique. The competition to own it was fierce. Bids soared. Collectors from around the world vied for a chance to add it to their collection. And when the final gavel dropped, the humble 2000 Kennedy half dollar sold for a breathtaking $50,000. So before you dismiss that shiny half dollar in your drawer or ignore the ones in your old collection, take a closer look. Because you never know, your next 50-cent piece might just be worth a small fortune.